Hey there, fellow YouTuberinos, YouTuberinis? I kind of like that, YouTuberini. Um, okay, so I promised a video about wheelchair jokes or wheelchair comedy, wheelchair humor, and this is going to be it. I was going to do this video a couple of days ago, but I didn't think I looked hot enough, so I waited, and I look a little better, but not quite good enough, I guess, but whatever. So anyway, so yeah, wheelchair jokes. It's become kind of a thing for me recently in the past year or so. I always used to have a lot of humor about my wheelchair and my disability, but it's definitely grown in the past year since I started doing theater again. So I will give you an example of some of the wheelchair themed jokes that I tell. Um, let's see. The first one, I guess, this is one I thought of in while I was in rehearsals for hair. So I would go up to someone at the theater and say to them, "Hey, can you hold my leg for? Can you hold my leg for a minute? I don't know. It feels weird. I think I might have bunked it or something." And they'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, sure. I'll hold your leg for a minute." Then I distract them and say something like, "How do you like the rehearsal so far for our show?" And they might say, it doesn't really even matter what they say. If they say, "Well, I don't like it," or "I'm enjoying it," it doesn't even matter. Because whatever they say, you immediately say after it, "Are you pulling my leg?" it's it's a really bad joke. I think it's funny, and pretty much no one else does. But I keep telling it, and people keep falling for it, so it amuses me. Um, So let's see. I've got a bunch of stuff written down here in the text file. Uh, I've done a lot of like, "Oh, that's how I ended up in a wheelchair" jokes, which are kind of like, so the setup is like, it's not really a setup. It's not, I mean, it's not like a joke you tell, it's just kind of a witty comment. So if someone, okay, so for example, I was getting headshots done today in New York City, and the photographer was standing precariously on a ledge, and she almost fell. And I said, "Oh, you better watch out. That's how I ended up in a wheelchair." For people that don't know me, it can be an awkward thing, but for people that know me, they laugh a lot at those jokes. Um, like I could say you have to say it's funnier when the situation is really ridiculous. Like there's no way you could possibly end up using a wheelchair from this situation. I'm trying to think of one offhand, but one night when I was performing in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, the curtain actually came down on the cast members while we were posing the last pose. Excuse me. And later on, I'm like, "Oh, well, that's how I ended up in the wheelchair. Curtain falling on me." So it's a lot of stuff like that, just really stupid, and it I I've come to the point where I can't help saying it anymore. Like I can't even control it. It happens so often. Um, okay, so I make these posts on Facebook a lot, where I say reasons why I use a wheelchair, and I have some written down here. Insulted Frank Sinatra, and if you know about like his involvement with the mafia, that's funny. Over enthusiastic touchdown celebration dance. Tanya Harding, that's kind of mean but kind of funny. Um, Westboro Baptist Church, freak baking accident. Like again, the more ridiculous the situation, the funnier it is. Okay. Oh, then there's other things like if I go to a sushi place, I might be like, "I see you've got an avocado roll, you've got an eel roll. Do you have a wheelchair roll?" These are mainly jokes that are funny for me. Um, okay, so I was at the gym couple of months ago in Florida, and the woman at the desk asked for my card to like check in, and I accidentally pulled out my license because I wasn't thinking, and I was like, oh, geez, that's not right. And she goes, oh, your brain isn't working today, huh? And I said, neither are my legs. And it's kind of funny. Kind of not. I think it's funny. Uh, okay, so there's also stuff like, these aren't jokes that I tell, but because I tell so many wheelchair jokes now, that people that know me start telling them also. So a friend of mine that I did ragtime with would come up to me every once in a while, either before the show or during the show, because we'd try to like crack each other up during the show sometimes. And he'd come up to me and he'd look at my wheelchair and he'd go, oh, is this seat taken? And then a woman that I was in ragtime with said to me one time, you know, a real man would give up his seat for a lady. So these are all amusing things for me. I don't know how many of you will find these amusing, but I love them. And I guess, okay, so the last one I have written down here, and there's like tons more, it's just what I thought of real quick off the top of my head to write down. I made this Facebook post about that I came out of the closet as a wheelchair user. And I was just like, not many people know this about me. I've hidden it for years, but it's time to finally come out and admit to the world that I use a wheelchair. And it's like, it's so freeing to finally be able to admit this and to be who I really am. And of course, all my friends who know that I'm a really silly person were like, you are so ridiculous. And some of them were like, oh, that's so shameful. But again, these are mainly to amuse me. I find them funny, and if other people don't, well, that's their deal. Okay, so thanks for watching my video, and I hope to see you again soon.